Tonight on CTV News, we'll take a look at the national election, as well as how the CSU Police Department are preventing bike theft on campus.
Then we'll dive into the propositions on the Colorado voting ballot and what to expect for Border War Week.
All that and more on CTV, starting now.
Good evening, Rams. I'm Ren Wadsworth.
And I'm Kenneth Frederick. Happy Election Day, Rams.
2020 has been a year of the unexpected, but as we move into the election for the 46th President of the United States, Colorado State University students are glad to have some control back in their hands as they cast their votes.
Our current president has committed countless atrocious acts. I think it's extremely inappropriate that he's still in office. He was impeached. He doesn't behave appropriately as a president, and I think that reflects poorly on America. So.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Trump. I haven't enjoyed his time in presidency the last 4 years. I think, I don't think he's very respectful to a lot of people in this country.
I'm not the biggest fan of Biden, but it's also he's not Trump.
I think Biden and Trump are both more radical than I like to support, and I think just like I'm not really a big fan of either of their characters.
Yeah, and I think it's time we break free from two-party shackles, because the founding fathers themselves warned us about it, and yet the presidents following them started making parties. They've been face-palming from the grave ever since.
The results of this election are much anticipated, and as results are announced throughout the week, we'll keep you updated on our social media, as well as going more into depth on Thursday night's show.
The United States voter turnout might be the highest since 1908. More than 99 million people casted their ballot as of Monday evening. We've already passed the 2016 voter turnout, which was 54.8%. On top of that, the voter turnout for young people is breaking records. According to presidential candidate Joe Biden, there's a huge turnout of young voters between the ages of 18 and 30, and women are the majority of that vote.
Colorado State University students also spoke openly about their fears of possible riots depending on the outcome of the election.
I've been pretty nervous about this day and this week for the past, few months. It's like, just seeing how things have been going for the past couple of months, with the Black Lives Matter incidents and Corona and wildfires and also their madness that we've been hit with lately. I was just really nervous about, rioting and more, craziness, people just screaming and hating each other.
I think if Trump's elected, it's going to be much worse. I think every young person and, person against Trump is going to come out and, vocalize that.
The direction I want America to head is not in the direction of rioting, and I think no matter who wins, I think the goal should be to bring down the intensity of politics in America so that there's more room of middle ground discussion.
No matter the conclusion of the 2020 election, try to stay safe, CSU, and remember that Rams take care of Rams.
United States District Judge Emmett Sullivan ordered the USPS to find all of the undelivered ballots by today at 3 this afternoon. However, the USPS refused to meet the deadline. Sullivan ordered the USPS to sweep its 12 postal facilities that serve 15 states for over 300,000 election ballots that could not be traced. The USPS denied Sullivan's order because they would rather stick to their own schedule.
Even though polls have closed for the night, students spoke about why they thought this election was so important to participate in.
This is probably the biggest year in America's history for quite a while, where I think there's a lot on the line. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and I think it's a really good chance to get how you feel out there and then make an actual influence in the country.
And I think we just need change. And because these last 4 years, we have been so divided as a country, and what we prioritize, the economy versus human life and human emotions and whether they feel welcomed in this country. So I'm hoping that, this is a big mark for our country.
Especially people my age, we couldn't vote last year, and that impacted us for, 20% of our life. And so now it's like we have this opportunity to better ourselves, better our community, help out so many people. And so it's like, why would you not?
Now, students proved this was true due to the high voter turnout at both CSU and in Colorado.
What was once known as Election Day may soon be understood as Election Week. With record high numbers of mail-in ballots due to COVID-19, both the process of counting and making predictions are on a much more timely matter than they have been in the past. The first polls close at 6 tonight in Kentucky, whereas both Alaska and Hawaii close nearly at midnight. No state is required to report final results on election night, so don't expect to have final results by the end of the evening.
Well, that's all we have for national election coverage.
But don't go anywhere because we'll be back after weather with local election news.
Hello. Do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
How you doing, Rams? Cameron Evig back with your Tuesday night weather. Let's not waste any time getting right into our current conditions as we see currently right now in Fort Collins. 58 degrees, sunrise 6:33 this morning, and your sunset 4:55. That's going to keep getting earlier as we get into those winter months. But now, moving on to our overnight lows, we see the west side of Colorado is going to be the cold area as we usually have it. 29 in Craig, 36 in Vail. Gunnison going to be down at 24 as well. Looking at Telluride at 27. Going to the other side now, Sterling at 40, Limon at 49, Burlington about 45 degrees. Look at Lamar at 37, and then your middle on the I-25 corridor, 46, 49, 50, and 45. Now, moving on to our tomorrow's highs throughout all of Colorado, You see at the bottom, Alamosa at 66, Telluride cold as ever, as it usually is, at 54. Gunnison at 64, 71 in Grand Junction over on that western part of your state, 40 in Craig, and then now looking at Vail at 58. Going over to the eastern side, we see Sterling up there at 78, respectable, 73 in Limon, 79 in Burlington, down in Lamar at 82. Along your corridor, 73 in Springs, 78 in Pueblo, 75 in Denver, and a chill 46 in Fort Collins. Moving to tomorrow's forecast in Fort Collins, 73 is going to be your high tomorrow with a low of 42. Looking at sunny, your sunrise at 6:34. Your sunset going to be at 4:52, a little bit earlier than it was today. Landon Gibbous is your moon phase. And now moving to the 5-day forecast for Fort Collins. See today, 73, 45. Tomorrow going to be a lot like that at 73 and 41. Thursday, 71, 39. Friday, 67 and 43. Finally, we're looking at Saturday at 70 and 39. Good temperatures throughout the week, getting a little bit warmer, which is weird, but stay tuned for your local election coverage with Kenny and Ren after the break.
So there you are, shuffling through a stack of resumes and you come to mine. This is it, first impression, my way in. But can my resume show you how I truly stand out? Like that I was studying, going to night school while working 2 jobs just to help my parents pay for groceries. Or being the first one to always step up. No, that's something you just can't put on paper. Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent that is dedicated, hardworking, and determined like me.
Welcome back from the break, Rams. Once again, I'm Kenneth Frederick.
And I'm Ren Wadsworth. Now let's shift more towards local election news. Although Colorado has been considered a purple or swing state for the past several elections, is looking to go blue in 2020. Interestingly enough, the state was primarily Republican from 1920 to 2004, but has voted for the Democratic candidate in the last 3 presidential races. This transition is said to be due to younger, college-educated people making up the majority of the population in Colorado, and their tendency to vote and lean left. Here's a preview of what Colorado's ballot's going to look like into the election. Looks like we're going to touch on Proposition EE, Proposition 113 through 15, and Proposition 116, as well as Amendment 76. And we're going to be talking about these issues coming up next.
The senatorial race has been a heated one in Colorado ever since John Hickenlooper dropped out of the race for the presidency and started running for Colorado's senatorial position. Hickenlooper, the Democratic challenger, is taking on Cory Gardner, the Republican incumbent. They disagree in many ways on issues like gun control, an issue that has been prominent in Colorado due to past events like the shootings at Columbine and Aurora. Gardner's position on the issue is that there needs to be more support for mental health issues, while Hickenlooper advocates for stronger gun control. There are many other issues that Hickenlooper and Gardner disagree on. Students have a similar feeling to how they felt after the first presidential debate, underinformed and upset by the nature of us versus them that the candidates portray.
They both have great viewpoints, but it's just they always take it way too far. So, yeah, even it out.
The Electoral College is outdated and ridiculous, and we need a popular vote. The Electoral College does not make sense in this day and age.
Yeah, I think we should just keep the Electoral College. I mean, I think it should be a Colorado decision, not a national decision.
I mean, I'm not against Electoral College. I've heard some people who are really against it, but I think I see why it's necessary to balance out the votes. But something's not right with the way it's run.
I don't like the idea that votes are wasted when you're in a county that's going to go a certain way.
One proposition on this ballot this election season is 113, which determines the presidency based on the popular vote rather than the Electoral College. Voters in Colorado will decide if the state will join 14 others in passing the national popular vote. The national popular vote law will go into effect when enacted by states possessing a majority of the presidential electors, or 270 out of 538. The electoral votes from those states will be awarded to the candidate receiving the most votes in all 50 states, as well as the District of Columbia. This proposition comes after grievances that the Electoral College doesn't accurately speak for the majority of voters. Students at Colorado State University have their own opinion on the matter of the Prop 13, though.
The Electoral College is outdated and ridiculous, and we need a popular vote. The Electoral College does not make sense in this day and age.
Yeah, I think we should just keep the Electoral College. I mean, I think it should be a Colorado decision, not a national decision.
I mean, I'm not against Electoral College. I've heard some people who are really against it, but I think I see why it's necessary to balance out the votes. But something's not right with the way it's run.
I don't like the idea that votes are wasted when you're in a county that's going to go a certain way. Your vote doesn't matter as much. But I think it also does help with general representation of people across America.
For more conclusive results of Proposition 113, stay tuned to Thursday night where we'll break down the election results.
Vapers on campus may have paid particular attention to the Proposition EE, which will determine whether or not vape products and nicotine juices will be taxable under Colorado law. Right now, nicotine products are only taxed by a state income tax, state sales tax, unlike tobacco and cigarettes, which both have sales on and tobacco taxes. The money brought in by the nicotine tax would be used for things like education and programs that reduce the use of tobacco and nicotine. Many students supported taxing vaping products.
Voted yes for it, even though my mom smokes the e-cigs and she doesn't make a lot of money, but I mean, whatever, it's not good for you.
We actually have some breaking news for you here, Rams. According to polling, Proposition EE is leading with a vote of yes by 72%. Yet, other students were skeptical over whether or not the revenue generated by the tax would be really used for education.
I have this voice of caution every time I read a new tax proposition that mentions funding the schools, because I feel like that's pulling at the heartstrings and very little money is actually going to benefit the students.
We also have an update on Hickenlooper. He is in the lead by 61.5%, but looking a little bit more at Proposition 115, it's also on the 2020 ballot and delves into the 22-week abortion ban initiative. A yes vote would support prohibiting abortions in Colorado after the 22-week mark, while a no vote would oppose prohibiting abortions after the 22-week mark. A no vote would maintain current Colorado law that does not restrict abortion after a certain point in pregnancy. While the votes are being tallied, students at Colorado State University offered their opinions and where their vote lies with 115.
I don't support late-term abortions. And so I voted against that today.
I said, I think a woman's choice is her choice. I think it's her body. She decides what she wants to do.
But I think late-term abortions shouldn't be controversial, just because at 22 weeks, I think a baby can feel pain.
I find it very offensive that people want to control women's bodies. I find it very invasive and inappropriate, and I don't think it should be on the...
Now, Colorado polls currently speculate that 115 is in the lead with a no vote with 66%. But for final results, you can tune in on Thursday night as election results for Proposition 115 and other issues on the ballot are broken down.
One issue on the ballot this year includes the reintroduction of gray wolves into Colorado. Gray wolves were pushed out of Colorado centuries ago by hunters and trappers. But Coloradoans are voting to see if the wolves will be reintroduced into the ecosystem west of the Continental Divide. Many people think that wolves would be good for the ecosystem.
I personally think it's not a terrible thing, just because it kind of restores some of that natural ecosystem that was here. But it's definitely going to be a concern to hikers and stuff like that.
The argument against Proposition 114 comes from ranchers who are worried that large carnivores would be a threat to their livestock.
Because I did a little bit of research, and it did say it would compensate anybody who gets affected by the reintroduction of the wolves, so I thought that was fair.
Breaking news from our studio as of right now, 275,000 people voted in Larimer County compared to the 2016 election, where the amount of people voted was 176,543. The Larimer County voter turnout is at 72%. For the official voter turnout in Larimer County, be sure to tune into CTV on Thursday at 7.
In Colorado, voting requirements are a little different from other places. 17-year-olds who turn 18 before the general election will no longer be able to vote in the primaries if Amendment 76 passes. The amendment also deals with non-citizens voting by changing the phrasing of our Constitution from all citizens have the right to vote to only citizens have the right. Students feel that the right to vote is important and that it's a right for everyone.
I kind of go back and forth because, it says in the Constitution everyone has the right to vote, but at the same time, if they've only been here for 22 days in Colorado specifically, I also feel like they don't have they're not a proper representation of the state. I'm for the amendment, but then again, at the same time, everyone deserves the right to vote as long as they're of legal age.
That's all of the election news we have for you as of now.
We could be giving live updates as we receive them, so stick around.
Awkward. Do I look familiar? I should. You might remember me from here. Here. Or maybe even here. But an awkward silence can be a great thing. It can actually be a perfect moment to reach out to a friend and ask if they're okay if they seem down. It doesn't matter how you say it.
You all right?
Everything's okay?
All G?
You all right, girl?
Oh,
you cool?
You bugging dog.
Just show you're there for them. Go on, Kelly. CZ awkward.
Hey, you haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
How's it going, Rams? My name is Tom Isaacson, and I'm kicking off the week to give you all the spice in entertainment news. So let's get started. We've all seen the tireless bikes laying around campus that have been the victim of bike theft. Because Fort Collins is such a bike-friendly community, seeing these sparse bicycles is not uncommon. CSU is implementing bait bikes in order to track down bike thieves. The CSU PD attaches GPS trackers to certain bikes, locks them up to racks, then tracks the bikes as they get stolen. This tracking system has led to a few felony arrests, as well as the recovery of bikes belonging to students, faculty, and staff. Now we can get back to seeing our favorite professors riding along without a care in the world. Along with pedaling professors, the Oval is one of CSU's most iconic landmarks, and cans around the Oval is just as fundamental to our university. This fundraiser ended about 2 weeks ago, and the money and canned food donations that were collected surpassed expectations and provided support for the CSU Food Pantry and the Larimer County Food Bank. The Fort Collins community raised a record of over $72,000, which translates into over 142,000 meals for those in need. Not even a pandemic can stop the charity of Fort Collins. Now, Spirit Crossing Clubhouse is presenting their Spirit of Wellness 2020 event, which is offering holistic approaches to improving one's health. I sat down with the organization's leader to learn more. Crossing Clubhouse is holding their 2020 Spirit of Wellness event. This event helps to educate people on how to stay well in more ways than one.
This is our first year for Spirit of Wellness. That's why we're calling it Spirit of Wellness 2020. We have had in the past in-person events. We've had a chili cook-off that had about an 8-year run.
The idea of Spirit of Wellness 2020 is to expand on the in-person experiences they had before. There were a variety of classes offered, including courses on how to garden during the harsh Colorado winter, how to make vegan chili, and many more.
Tomorrow we have a creative writing class. So, that intellectual wellness and just, finding creative outlets that you can still do at home.
The event is aimed at raising funds for the clubhouse so they can continue to help people in need.
Historically, our funds are raised to support our clubhouse members in program development efforts. And so that may mean that we would sponsor clubhouse members to attend conferences and training programs around the clubhouse model.
The Spirit Crossing Clubhouse provides assistance in more ways than just their wellness events, offering support for substance abuse, group therapies, and more.
For me, I think just community collaboration and engaging our clubhouse members in this activity. The program is really based upon the members being involved in all aspects of the clubhouse.
I thought it was really interesting to see all the different ways in which people are taking care of themselves during the hard times. For the past 2 days, the University of Colorado Center has been hosting a mini symposium called Cancer and Aging, partnering with regional aging centers such as the Columbine Health System Center for Healthy Aging at CSU. Believe it or not, aging is something that affects every person. So this symposium covered topics such as basic understanding of how aging impacts cells, how cancer forms and progresses, and how people deal with cancer. There was also an opportunity to apply for grants, which would help research surrounding cancer and aging. One little known fact is that the leading cause of disease-related death in household pets is cancer. But fortunately, for those who love their animal friends, there is a ray of hope. The Petco Foundation and Blue Buffalo gave CSU Flint Animal Cancer Center a $75,000 grant to help treat pets that have cancer. Although this disease is very common, many pet parents do not have the financial means to help out their furry friends if they get sick. This grant is intended to help those people fund treatment so their pets can continue to live happy and healthy lives. Well, Rams, that's all the time I have for you tonight. Stick around after the break to get your sports update with Hunter Fillmore.
Listen, you're my friend.
I noticed you haven't really been yourself recently.
Yeah, I feel like something's up.
How are you?
Are you okay?
Is there anything you want to talk about?
I just want to know how you're feeling.
And listen, even if you don't know what to say, I'm here to talk.
No matter what you're going through,
I just want you to know I'm here.
I've got your back.
when you want to talk, I'm here.
How's it going, Rams? Welcome back from the break into another week of Hunter's Hotspot. This week, we'll be shifting the focus from last week's swimming content back to football to preview CSU's annual Border War matchup with Wyoming on Thursday and take a look at the buzz surrounding the potential 16-seed playoff or 16-team playoff format in the NFL. With this, let's get started. After nearly a year-long wait, Border War week is finally here in Fort Collins, and the Rams are preparing for the Cowboys to come to town. Past this heated rivalry for the Bronze Boot, there is one burning question that Ram fans have entering the rivalry game on Thursday. Who is going to start at quarterback for CSU? In last week's contest against Fresno State, both Todd Centeio and Patrick O'Brien split snaps at signal caller, with Centeio starting and Patrick O'Brien coming off the
in relief once the game was well out of reach. Though the Rams were stumped by the Bulldogs, both quarterbacks had some bright sides to their play. Centeio, a much more mobile quarterback, led the team in rushing yards with 89 yards, averaging nearly 7.5 yards per carry. In the passing game, however, Centeio struggled, completing only 10 of his 23 attempts for 114 yards. On the other hand, O'Brien came into the game midway through the fourth quarter and completed 7 of 10 passing attempts for 82 yards and a touchdown. As a result of these struggles at quarterback, the Rams were dominated by Fresno State with a final score of 38-17. Wyoming, on the other hand, hosted Hawaii for their first home game of the season and had a much different result from the Rams. It was the ground game that really shined for the Cowboys, as they had 4 rushing touchdowns in what ended up being a 31-7 domination over the Rainbow Warriors. Both Wyoming's main options in the backfield, Xavion Valladay and Trey Smith, scored 2 touchdowns apiece. As for the passing attack, redshirt freshman Levi Williams managed the game, completing 9 of 18 passing attempts for 112 yards. To bring the Bronze Boot back home to Fort Collins after 4 straight losses, the Cowboys will need to focus on that high-powered running game for Wyoming and force the young Cowboy quarterback to carry the offense through the air if they are going to have a chance at winning this game. For Wyoming, the biggest obstacle that stands in their way will be prepared for both quarterbacks. O'Brien and Centeio have very different playing styles, so knowing which quarterback will start until game time may be the advantage that Coach Adazio and his staff have. Pushing past the college ranks into the pros, the NFL may have its biggest playoff field in nearly 40 years due to newly proposed 16-team playoff format. On Monday, the NFL Competition Committee put forth a contingency plan that they hope to remedy some of the scheduling chaos that COVID-19 has brought to the professional football world. The proposal states that if enough future contests are canceled, though the second half of the season, the playoffs would be expanded to 16 teams rather than the standard 12-team slate that the NFL is accustomed to. With this potential for certain teams to get more games than others as a result of ongoing pandemic-related roadblocks, NFL fans could very likely see more teams than usual fighting for that Lombardi Trophy when the postseason hits. Regardless of the new development, the league was already set to have a 14-team playoff due to the league's new collective bargaining agreement. This means that the top team in each conference will receive a bye, while the other 6 postseason teams would be playing on the wild card weekend. If the playoffs are expanded to 16 teams, then it is likely that the top 2 teams for each conference would likely have a bye week. Excuse me, we have an update from the election from Ren.
Sorry to cut you off, Hunter, but we have an update on the Hickenlooper-Gardner debate. Now, it's looking like we're leaning really far blue in Colorado, but we are waiting on those eastern votes, which are going to lean a little more red. So as you can see up here, we've got 60% for John Hickenlooper, but only 38% polling for Gardner. Now, as we keep moving on, we are going to have more updates on that on Thursday, and I'm going to throw it back to Hunter so he can finish up all that interesting sports talk.
Thank you, Ren. And like I was saying, that previous CBA is going to look a little different than it will if we have that 16-game slate. But that is all the news we have for you tonight. Make sure to tune in for Humans of CSU and have a great rest of your election night. And we'll see you tomorrow.